Good afternoon, Young Kings. For the second edition of today, second video today. So happy New Year's Eve. Got about 9 more hours, just over 9 hours and 15 minutes left in 2020. So just wanted to get another boundaries video out because some of the things I think is going to be imperative going forward into the new year. And I guess that's what I just got out the shower. If you see my first video, it's kind of rough. So look at that. Get a fresh shave on there. Face kind of smooth. Well, it is what it is. This is who I am. It's not a cosmetic video. What the hell are you looking at my head for anyway? But anyways, let's get to the point. Like, it's about to be a new year in just over 9 hours. But 2020 was rough for a lot of us, me included. I mean, there were some up points, there were some down points. It's like a roller coaster. But we're still at the fucking amusement park. I mean, excuse my language, but we're still having a good time. We're living a good life. We have things going for us. Everything is not going to be a good day. Every day won't be a bad day. It's a combination of both. So with that being said, as we transition into a new year, I want you to recognize some of the fallacies of the train of thought. And you're about to start seeing some of this stuff. New year, new me, version 2.0. I'm not going to be doing this next year, whatever. But I'll tell you this. If you like chocolate ice cream at 11:59, chances are when the clock strikes 12, you're going to like chocolate ice cream. If you had a problem at 11:59, chances are you're going to have that problem when the clock strikes midnight. If you had a broken relationship throughout this year and 11:59 comes and you want to pop bottles and do that, chances are that relationship is still going to be broke when the clock strikes midnight. What I say is, like, it doesn't change with a light switch. What we're about to do, this transition, it's going to take work. And just because the year change or you get a little older, application, back in the day they had the cartoon, and I keep going back to this reference because it was so prevalent in my life. It's like G.I. Joe. At the end of every episode, because they had a moral thing about that episode that they try to teach you a lesson in the form of cartoons and stuff of that nature. And then at the end, they would come on and they would says, now you know, and knowing's half the battle. And, knowledge is half the battle, but the other half of that battle is application. And that is the most important half of the battle that we really got to start. Because right now in my life, I don't need more information. I need more application. Like, I don't need another get rich quick or another ideal. There's enough ideals in this big head. And the reason my head is so big is because I'm a genius. It has to house this brain. I'm just joking, but I am a genius. But you don't need new information. We don't need a new revelation, a new understanding. What the information we have enough information that if we were to start applying that right now, our life would be drastically different. And a part of that application is within these boundaries. So establishing these boundaries is going to allow us to apply some of these things in self-love. So we're going to get back into some of these boundaries. And we went over 23 signs of unhealthy boundaries. And I know these videos are going to come back to back, so make sure you watch that one first. If you hear me saying make sure you watch that one first, push pause, go back and watch that one first, because we're building here. As I mentioned a little bit in that video, it's like construction and destruction. And I didn't put it in those exact terms, but 2020, it's zeroed out. And that, I'm going by the last digit of the year. It zeroed out a lot of things that you had placed confidence in. If you placed confidence in jobs, maybe you got laid off during the COVID, or you weren't an essential worker or something of that nature, and you were undervalued. If you put confidence in a relationship, maybe that relationship didn't last due to quarantine. There are studies showing that this quarantine exposed a lot of faulty relationship. A lot of people used to look forward to getting a break from home. After work, they go out to a bar or they go out to the mall. They go play and go bowl, go do these various activities. But when you take those activities away and you have to deal with someone in close proximity all the time, there's a lot of time for tensions and stuff to build. So if you had placed your confidence in a relationship that you thought was solid, maybe that fell apart. Maybe it's your health. And I'm not saying that it just had to do with COVID, but maybe you had an injury. I know I had an injury earlier this year where I wasn't able to run. I pulled a muscle in my calf and my thigh, and it took me weeks to recover. And if you don't remember that, go back through that where I had to build back up to being able to run. So maybe you have confidence in your physical ability. Maybe during this quarantine, school has shut down, and you have plans on advancing in college, and now the institutions are shut down or they moved online. And I know for me, online learning is not the way I've learned. I like to be there. I like to engage, interact with the professor, or I like to interact with the students and have that parallel learning going on. So online learning was not for me. So maybe you had ideals of getting in college and doing that. But whatever it is that you put your confidence in 2020, it should have revealed something up until this point to let you know faith in anything outside of God is setting yourself up for disappointment. So it's time for you to remove your confidence and stuff from people, from possessions, from anything that may have, and then start focusing on what you can control. And what you can control is yourself and your response. So, and this boundaries thing is going to help us establish those boundaries so we can set for the course for a healthy relationship. Not only healthy in relationship, but a healthy work relationship. So you're getting in places and opportunities where you're valued. And in order for you to be valued, and I'm learning this the hard way, is that you got to start valuing yourself. Like self-love is definitely one of those things that needs to be a part of your everyday routine going in 2021. And that self-love, it could be something simple as working out, running, walking, and getting into a better physical state. It could be self-love like reading, putting more knowledge inside your brain, enhancing your understanding of a topic so that you're not an inch deep and a mile wide. I'm talking about going a mile deep and maybe an inch wide. You don't need a various of topics, but find that finite things that you want that interest you and get some depth in it so you don't just have surface level understanding of what it is that you want to do. And what you really need to go deep in is into your purpose, into where you want to be, not only in 2021, but beyond. Start casting your 5-year plan and start really investing in yourself. And these boundaries, both on the last video and things that we went over, we're going to go over today in this video, may be something that catapults you into that. So without further ado, this one is going to be how to establish healthier boundaries. And it's 5 steps. So the first step is identify symptoms of your boundaries currently or having been violated or ignored. So the first step, you got to acknowledge that you have had a boundary. And at least for me, sometimes there's been places where I didn't even have a boundary established. And I didn't know I needed the boundary until somebody approached me in a way or that was like, hey, hold up. I don't need this happening again. Let me establish a perimeter around so I can create a safe space so I don't have to snap and you don't have to be snapped on, or we don't have to have this thing going on. So first thing is identify the symptoms. Is somebody pressing your buttons? Like, when people get around because people try to talk slick or here and there, or people who would be habitual line crossers or be the people the most. Hey, don't worry about it, man. You overreacted. Nah, that wasn't that. And, you being sensitive or whatever. Don't let that slick talk disarm you. If it's something that, causes the hair to stand up on your neck, or that you have to like, oh, hold up, man, I don't know, then that's enough to let you know that there's a boundary. And I'm not saying have your boundary so rigid that nobody can give you any constructive criticism, or that they can't speak a word into your life that's against something that you may be off course on to get you back on course. That's what you got to understand. If you're off course and somebody giving you that correction, there's a saying that says, chew the meat and spit out the bone. So there's something that's useful in there. I used to have a statement like, in every compliment, there's an air of ignorance. In every complaint, there's an area of ignorance as well. Meaning that when somebody gives you a compliment, they don't know, and yourself, you're like, hey, you did a great job. In your mind, you immediately thinking like, okay, yeah, thank you, but I could have did better here and there, because we are our biggest critiques. We know when we mess up. It's built in. You're self-aware that when something goes wrong, you're the first one because you have a front row view because it's you. You know when you do something wrong. So when somebody comes out and give you a compliment, you know there's elements in there that you could have done something a little better, you know. And then when somebody comes and give you a critique, there's an element of truth in those as well as ignorance, meaning that when somebody comes and give you a critique of something you're doing there, they may not be all the way on course, but there's some elements in there that's true, you know. If they say you're a narcissist, and I've been called that, I'm recognized there's an element of me that has some narcissistic traits. And I don't think all narcissistic traits are bad. Some of them are in line with what we need to do to progress as young kings and men, especially melanated. You got to have a sense of confidence in your ability and have surety for you to move on. But the first one is to identify symptoms of your boundaries currently being or having been violated. So if you have that habitual line crosser, you need to draw that line and establish, like, hey, what are some of the symptoms? What are some of the things they're saying or doing that makes me feel unease about some of the things that they got going on? Hold on real quick. The music from the other room is cutting in a little loud, so I want to go close this door. All right. With that being said, like, we get right into to step two. The second step to how to establish healthy boundaries is identify irrational or unhealthy thinking and belief which allow your boundaries to be violated. Like, sometimes we have this destructive pattern because come 9 times out of 10, like, I won't even say 9 times out of 10, I would say the majority of the time, if you're a melanated young king, very rarely are we raised in healthy environments. We have to learn through trial and error. Like, very rarely are we brought into healthy homes where both parents are happy, healthy, and whole. A lot of us are raised by single parents, and a lot of us have been raised through neglect or through abuse and stuff of that nature. So we start navigating this road in journey in life at a deficit, where we got to play catch up to impart some things that wasn't imparted in us, like learning through error. I had some conversation throughout this year with one of my best friends, Eric, and I said, man, I'm 45, and it feels like I'm just now learning how to really be a man. Like before, like, I was going through trial and error. So even something simple as shaving, you know, you go through conventional wisdom, you're trying everything that everybody say do, but the reality of it is what other people do may not work for you. So you gotta identify some irrational or some unhealthy things. Like, I had to unlearn some of the things that I had learned before that I thought was essential to my development, but I realized they were more paralyzing me in allowing people to manipulate me or misuse me. So you got to identify some unhealthy thinking. And what may that be? Oh, that's just such and such. That's how they always act. They treat everybody that way. Don't give nobody a license to treat you way just because they treat somebody else and that's their personality. Like, there's no personality waivers from this point forward. So nobody gets that inherent personality waiver. Well, that's just who they are. And I don't care who they are. They don't get that. They don't get the entitlement to break a boundary or to cross your boundary. Establish your boundary and make sure that you fortify it, that you don't let people cross it, and that you don't have unhealthy thinking. Like, the other part of the unhealthy thinking, like, well, yeah, I kind of deserve it. People make mistakes. You know, in scripture, it talks to all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I think that's Romans 13. If not, maybe I'll come to that. It was in Romans. I was just in Romans earlier. But anyway, it talks about in Romans that all have sinned. So there's no one that's more mightier than you that has walked on water. Now, it's pretty cold in Michigan. I live on a river, and the river looks like it's frozen. It's not thick. So there's nobody out there going to go walk on that water and it's partially frozen. Nobody out here is just that perfect. So don't give people a license to mistreat you because you made a mistake or that you have sinned. That's not a license for you to continue in your sin either. But what I'm saying is just like, don't make justification. Well, yeah, I kind of deserve that. They allowed to do that. I give them a pass. So that's unhealthy thinking. The other thing is like, well, we've been together so long, you know, this is how we fight. I tell you, in 2020, 2021, learn how to fight fair. Like, you know, learn how to fight fair. And this is more me talking to me. It's like not getting into unhealthy levels of disagreement. Like, learn know when to back up. So, and learn know when to have a timeout. So don't make justification, oh, they just did it because they were mad. Another unhealthy thinking, like, well, when they get drunk, they just be saying everything. They really don't mean it. So I won't. So don't, well, you get where I'm going with this. Identify some irrational, unhealthy thinking that makes you think that them crossing your boundary is okay. So eliminate that unhealthy thinking. This is time for a healthy, happier, and whole person. The third one is identify new, more rational, healthy thinking and belief, which would encourage you to change your behaviors so that you build healthy boundaries between you and others. So not only identify the bad thing, but then incorporate some good things. Like, all right, you chew the meat and you spit out the bone, but that part that you're chewing and you're digesting, build some healthy boundaries with there. Understand, like, how do you communicate with someone? How do you, like, whether it be a physical boundary, if you're not one that wants people in your personal space, and a lot of that's going on with COVID, you don't want just random people walking up to you and talking to you, especially if they don't have a mask or something on. Excuse me. So you get that physical boundary where you don't just want people to come up to you and put their hands on you or touch you, you know, or you don't want people talking to you crazy. You want to make sure you establish that. Um, the fourth one is identify new behaviors that you need to add to your healthy boundaries, building um, behaviors in your repertoire that would, in order to sustain healthy boundaries between you and others. So um, as you build it, you're going to expand, and you may have new boundaries every week. As you go through this process, you may like, you know what? I don't like the way they talk to me. And you may not have never said nothing before, but maybe it's time for you to say something. Maybe it's time for you to object to something. And, don't go along with groupthink. Groupthink is like, well, you go along to get along. Like, hey, I don't want to rock the boat. I just want to play it easy. I don't want to make a big deal. But I'm telling you, your peace is a big deal. Your boundaries are a big deal. Your dreams are a big deal. Your ideals, your creativity, your vision, your health, all those are a big deal. So make a big deal about it. You are a big deal. You are important. So we just got to make sure, don't minimize things because, like, hey, just sweep it under the rug. Because what I learned that over the last few decades in my life, things that you ignore will grow. It says, don't plant seeds and water on things that you don't want to grow and eat. So if you allow people to do that, as I mentioned before, like, you give people an inch, they're going to start running marathons in your life. And they get more confident and cocky the more they cross the boundary. At first, they kind of like in the pool, they want to just put their toe in the water, just kind of touch it and just trying to see how you react. And then you don't react. And then, so, all right, they got comfortable with their toe being in. Now they sit on the edge with their feet just dangling inside your boundaries and just kind of getting comfortable. And then all of a sudden, you didn't say nothing. So now they got too comfortable. Now they doing flips off the diving board and going back up for a second round. And they just having a good time in your park, crossing your boundaries. So you got to realize, like, hey, you got to establish some behaviors and some boundaries. Hey, this is a no diving zone. Matter of fact, this pool is not for you to swim in. If they can't swim and play nice, if they want to splash water and all that other stuff, just an analogy. But I'm just saying, if they can't operate within what's the scope of what's acceptable in your boundaries, then it's not for you. Not them. They are not for you. So teach people how to treat you. Fifth one is implement a healthy boundary, beliefs, and behavior in your life so that your space, privacy, and rights are no longer ignored or violated. Like, your boundaries should be so fortified that when they come up to them, they ought to know. There ought to be some resistance there, that they know, like, oh, okay, I apologize. I didn't mean to say that. They may try it, and then your boundaries and your response come like, oh, man, I didn't mean nothing by it. I didn't mean, you probably misunderstood that. But that's how, I'm not saying rigid so people can't communicate to you, but there should be some resistance when your boundaries started to be encroached upon. There should be something that's responsive to you that let them know that that's inappropriate. And then at that time, there's a decision that needs to be made. Now, you didn't let them know and they didn't cross the line. And that's why I think I ask a lot of questions and people are like, why are you so aggressive? And I don't mean to be aggressive. I just like to get things while they're small. And this is my professional life. I didn't apply this in my in my relationship. But the things I used to say, I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't find that funny. And you'd be amazed, like people get up car, hey, hold up, I didn't mean nothing by it. And they'll start being, because I think questions are the bridge from ignorance to intelligence, and it creates clarity out of confusion. So I'm going to ask you a question like, hey, hold up, you know, what do you mean? Like, and they were like, oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. And it's like, because now we can either provide clarity or I can confirm that you talking off the wall and we can start addressing that in another way. But don't be afraid to question it on the spot. Like, hey, hold up. I want to make sure we're on the same page. Like, what are you saying? Or, hey, you're a little too close to me. I need you to back up. Don't be afraid to enforce your boundaries, because a boundary not enforced, it's like not having a boundary at all. I'll say that again. A boundary not enforced, it's just like not having a boundary at all. So if you got this boundary and this is what is part of your peace zone, as soon as you start ignoring it, it's just like a new norm. So we're going to transition. I know we're just over 20 minutes. And there's situation examples of setting healthy boundaries. And it just goes through a few examples. And one is anger. Like when people are angry and they want to yell and be irate, you can say, you may not continue to yell at me. If you do, I will leave the room or end this meeting. Like, it takes two to engage. And this is wisdom that I need to apply myself, because I am a Taurus and I'm a bull and I'm stubborn. So there's some times in me that I have surrendered some peace to give people a piece of my mind. But I realize, like, if I keep giving people a piece of my mind, then I'm not going to have none left, let alone any peace. So the reality of it is like, you got to learn when to back away and just say, hey, you know what? You're not going to continue to yell at me, or I'm going to end this conversation, and we won't continue with this. So it's better to be monotone, and this is what I'm learning, to grow more in 21. It's not engage with people with anger. Deal with it in the more sensible manner. Buy time. That's the second one. Buy time. I have a policy of not making snap decisions. Like, don't let nobody rush you into making a decision. There's a lot of opportunities out there where people want you to act now and they want you to do this immediately. Like, if you don't sign this immediately, then you're going to miss out on this opportunity. There's so many calls on my phone for warranties on my vehicle or this and that. Just bought a house and they're asking me to refinance. This is your last chance. And sure, but nothing but surety. Like, after my last chance come, there's 5 more chances after that. So they communicate as though it's my last chance. But the reality of it is, there's a saying out there that says, if you want something bad, that's exactly how you're going to get it. Bad. So learn how to have patience, so you don't want something so bad that you end up in it getting bad and then put you in a bad position, because it'd be bad all the way around. So learn to have patience to say, hey, I'm not going to make any rash decision. So some examples is buy time. Don't make a snap decision immediately. Criticism. It's not okay with me for you to make comments about my weight. Please stop. Or about my intelligence, about whatever it may be. And just let people know that that's not okay. You don't have to use these exact ones. You got to make sure. So money may be another one. I'm not lending you any more money. I care about you, but at the same time, I'm not going to, cripple or paralyze you from making smart decisions with your money. So don't bail people out of the last minute decisions, or because they made poor decisions. I'm not saying you can't help a friend, but as I mentioned before in the video, some people just want to use you. That's the only thing they want you there for, is to benefit you. Like, if 2020 didn't show you anything, it ought to showed you, like my mom used to tell me, everybody you call your friend ain't your friend. Everybody that you engage in with conversations is not there to be a part of your life. Sometimes they're there just to gather information to see how they can use it against you. So be careful. And money is one of those things. Money and friends and family, it can destroy a friendship. It can destroy the bonds of family by you loaning money, because it's like payday loans. It's like you go get a payday loan, um, and you got to pay that payday loan back when you get paid. But the issue is that you still got new requirements that's emerging, and that's how that payday loan cycle. You go get another payday loan, you paying your money back, but then you get more money from them, and it's like if you lend somebody money once, chances are next time they need money, they're coming back to you. It's gonna be a second time. It's going to be a third time, and you're going to start developing a pattern. Hey, this is different. I ran into some hard times and this, and everybody has hard times. I've had hard times, and I'm not saying that you can't do a favor for a friend. I'm just asking you not to be used. So, some of the clear examples on there, it says, if you break plans with me by not showing up or calling me, I will call you on your behavior and let you know how I feel. So, and that's what boundaries establishes, is that boundaries, like, hey, don't let nobody just play with your time, because time is one thing that doesn't forgive you. Like, you can't go back and get it back. You can't make up for lost time. And don't try to make up for lost time in 21. Don't try to go out, as soon as they open the country up, and try to go out and splurge and do all this stuff that you couldn't do in 20. 20 is gone. There's no making up for that. That is in the record book. You got to be intentional about moving forward. You can't make up for no lost time. Don't go out there and just try to be wild and try to act like you lost a year, and then you're going to end up losing the current year trying to celebrate something that has already passed. So just be mindful of that. Number two, for examples of stating clear consequences, if you continue with this offensive behavior, once again, leave the room. If you continue to repeat the behavior, I will consider my options in regards to leaving the relationship. And I took a pause on there, because boundaries are made to be enforced, not just to be threatened. And this is a lesson learned, is that you got to be about it. You can't just talk about it. Like, your boundaries may cause more people to walk out of your life. Like, this stuff is not for the faint at heart. It's not for people that want to be popular. It's not for people who wants a lot of friends. It's not for people who wants to be accepted. It's not for people who wants the easy life. Your boundaries may cause people to leave your life. It may cause people where they decide that you're not somebody I want to deal with. And I've had that stated to me a few times this year. They were like, man, I'm contemplating if it's even worth being your friend. At least they told me that. And I had to tell each of these individuals, it's like, hey, no need to contemplate anymore. You don't determine my worth. We're not friends. You don't, my boundary is this. If you got to contemplate it, and it's not me drawing this hard line in the sand or in concrete, but it's at the same time, it's like, do not let somebody external of you determine your worth. If you got to have your boundaries violated in order to be accepted by them, that's no longer acceptable. So people may leave. And the reality of it is, that may be your biggest blessing. That may be the biggest thing that propel you into this next sphere, because people who respect your boundaries respect you. People who don't respect your boundaries, they don't value or respect you. So if you're not ready to end a relationship over conversation, do not say you are. And this is important. I want to read this. If people are unwilling to respect your boundaries, they are not your true friends or people you want to spend time with. I think that's worthy of repeating. If people are unwilling to respect your boundaries, they are not your true friends or people you want to spend time with. Setting personal boundaries and limits can be very important in how you lead your life and the quality of relationships you have. Like, it's not about the quantity of it. It's about the quality. You can go out and get a lot of things at the dollar store, but they probably won't last longer than a week. is designed for immediate consumption use and probably to be disposed of. That's why, this thing called Black Friday after Thanksgiving, people go out and they go wild on these 50-inch TVs and stuff of that nature. If you look at the name brand on those TVs, it'd be the lower end ones, because things of quality and of value really don't go on sale. You won't see the iPhone 12 50% off on Black Friday. You won't see a Bentley. Matter of fact, you don't even see commercials for Bentley. They still selling them. You don't hear them saying sell, 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 come out and, test drive this. They're not marketing those to be sold to the masses because the quality is so high. Now you see commercials for Fords, Chevys, and I'm not, because that's my stratosphere. That's my budget right there. Is some Chevys, but you don't see commercials for Rolls Royce. Very rare. You might see them in the videos. Rappers have them, but Bentleys, Bugattis, Lamborghinis, you don't see. They're not on your TV, but they haven't diminished in their value either, because they know what their brand is. So my question to you is like, what's your value? You don't have to market it, but at the same time, don't go on sale either. Don't put yourself on sale to be accepted by anybody that comes by that wants to be in a relationship with you. And that relationship is not just an intimate relationship. It's a friendship. It's how people treat you at work. You can set the tone. There's been plenty of times at work where I have to tell people that outrank me, I'm a man first. And I do it respectfully. I mean, I do my job and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. But at the same time, this respect street is not to be walked across, So, young kings, understand your value. And your value will be understood by others if you have boundaries. If you set clear boundaries and make sure in every area of your life, don't leave nothing unturned. If you address these boundaries, then you will live a healthy, happy, whole life. Revisit your boundaries too. Just because you set them at the beginning of the year, if it's not profitable to you, it's your life. You can change them, but don't let people change them for you. So be well, young kings. Got about 9 more hours to 2020. And I tell you what, we're going to do some great things in 21. The new series is going to be World War Me, not World War III. And we have World War I, we have World War II, and this is World War Me. So, and I'm going to carry this World War series. I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce that. World War Me. I'm going to carry this series. I'm thinking throughout the whole year. There are going to be different battles now. There may be, because the war is a combination of different battles. So overall, umbrella is going to be the World War Me, because I'm going through myself. I'm going to analyze. I'm going to be at war and try to get better mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I'm at war. But in each of those wars, there may be subsequent battle where I deal with my emotional state. I may be dealing with debt management. So there's going to be different battles, but there's about to be a war on me. I'm declaring war in 9 hours. So I'm going to go prep for this war. I'm going to go get me a bottle. I might toast to something, celebrate me making it through 2020. I'm telling you, this is stuff that would have crushed giants that I went through. And how do I know? Because I'm a giant. But it didn't crush me. I'm still standing. You still standing. So we're going to stand. We're going to stand tall with our chest up. We're going to, we might have to wipe our eyes, wipe some sweat off our bra, shake our head, but we in this. We're strong. Be strong, young kings.